Good afternoon, families. My name is Heather Deere. I'm the Assistant Director of Parent and Family Programs here at William & Mary. I am happy to welcome you to our family webinar series. Our webinar series is designed to provide you with information about the student experience and opportunities your student may take advantage of. Our session today includes a presentation about the Counseling Center at William & Mary that will last approximately 30 to 35 minutes. At the end of the presentation, there will be time for you to ask questions. We ask that you keep your microphones muted for the duration of the presentation in order to maintain the best sound quality for all attendees. Today, you will have the opportunity to view the presenter while they are presenting. In order to adjust the size of the video display, you will need to select View Options at the top of your screen, then select Side-by-Side mode. Once you have selected side-by-side mode, you can adjust the size of both the presentation and the video display by dragging the gray bar between the two displays. We have learned that the best way for you to communicate your questions is to send them via the Q&A feature in Zoom. You will find this feature at the bottom of your screen labeled Q&A. You can type your questions here. Feel free to submit questions during the presentation. I will serve as the moderator and will ask our presenter as many questions as we have at the end of the presentation. At this time, I will turn it over to Dr. Karina Sudarski-Glazer, the Director of the Counseling Center at William & Mary.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm very excited to share some information with you about mental health issues and the services that we provide at the Counseling Center. Directors are indicating that the number of students that are visiting the Counseling Center has been significantly increasing, and again, that the mental health concerns are more severe. Next slide. So one important piece here is to talk about the different reasons why this may be the case. How come we are experiencing this level of need and the high utilization across counseling centers? Some are really good reasons why this is the case, including the fact that we have been working and able to reduce stigma in mental health, so that actually this generation of students is accustomed to seeking help for mental health needs. And that is a really wonderful thing. In addition, some students are arriving to campus already with experiencing therapists and even taking medication. So some students, even from early on in high school perhaps, or earlier than that, have had experience in counseling and therapy. In addition, another really positive piece is that earlier identification, diagnosis, and treatment has allowed certain students who perhaps would not have been able to pursue a college education in the past, now they are able to, because they have been able to really learn how to manage certain conditions. There are other reasons that are less positive, and those have to do with the really competitive environment that our students are growing in and the greater pressure to perform. So, you know, many times students in high school are learning that they need to take many AP classes to really be able to get into the best schools. And obviously, your students were able to do that in order to get to be admitted at William & Mary. However, you know, that pressure and the fast pace that we live and the multiple things on our schedules create a level of stress that at times feels unsustainable. For instance, I remember a couple of years ago working with a student who had scheduled, if I were to look at his schedule, it would be every 10 minutes. It was divided, so in order to know exactly what he was going to do every 10 minutes. And that obviously creates a high level of stress. In addition, as you probably are aware, social media is an important piece of this generation. And what we have seen is that even though students may have multiple friends, Facebook friends, they are feeling very lonely and they are engaging in social comparison. Students tell me actually rather frequently about how badly they feel when they see that they post something on Facebook and they don't get as many likes. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with Facebook, but if you do, that's one of the things that they are concerned about, that they are posting something and not having as many reactions as potentially some of their friends. But the worst is, the sense of loneliness that they feel because they are interacting with machines and less with other people. And last but not least is the political and social climate in the nation and the world that are really affecting our students. Students are feeling really concerned about global warming, about the divisiveness in our country, and they are feeling really impacted by it. So considering all these issues that I'm talking about and the level of need for mental health, William and Mary, we feel very lucky because we have been able to focus on the idea of promoting wellness from a systemic perspective. So wellness at William and Mary is not just an issue that the Counseling Center is interested in and that we are the only ones focusing on promoting wellness, but it's something that it's something that we all need to focus on. And in addition to, again, promoting wellness, the Counseling Center itself invests energy in prevention and treatment. So a clear example of how William and Mary focuses on wellness is the fact that we built this new, actually it's now about a year old, the McClure Integrative Wellness Center. And hopefully some of you have been able to visit it. And if you haven't, I really recommend that next time that you come, that you come in and see this amazing environment that we have been able to create at the Wellness Center for students. The Wellness Center includes downstairs, we have the health center, we have the Center for Mindfulness and Authentic Excellence, health promotion, and on the second floor is where the Counseling Center is located. And now I can show you a little bit about how the Counseling Center looks. So the picture on your left is kind of our welcoming area where we have, service, we have snacks, and we try to help students feel welcoming. So we have hot beverages and things like that while they wait to be seen. The one in the middle is one of our group rooms. We do a lot of group therapy at the center, and we have many workshops. And so that's kind of what a group therapy room would look like. And the one on your right is actually a picture from my office that I feel very lucky to have. And again, our intention has been to create environments that feel very welcoming and peaceful for students. So, as I was saying, the utilization of counseling center services across the nation has been extremely high, and particularly since last year when we moved to the wellness center. But again, it's not just because we have a new building that the students are seeking our help, but because this is an issue that most counseling centers are experiencing. So students seek services at the counseling center for multiple reasons. Some students come to continue to address issues that they have been working on in the past for a while with therapists, say in high school and other times. Others seek help in connection to some recent event that is negatively affecting or interfering with their level of functioning. And that could be academic functioning, social functioning, intellectual functioning. But once it gets to that level, they feel the need, and we're gladly that they come and seek services. Some other students are referred by a professor, a dean, a parent, or a friend. Sometimes they don't recognize in themselves that they can benefit from additional support. And so it's wonderful when a friend or someone that they care about are able to point that out and recommend services. Others, which we are seeing at this time, tend to come at the end of the semester when they are close to finals, and they are attempting to quickly fix some type of concern. And unfortunately, it's kind of, I was thinking the comparison with physical therapy. If I'm going to have a race next week and I have some type of problem with my knee, if I go right now to physical therapy preparing for next week, it's not going to help me much. However, we do provide services same day for certain types of emergencies, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about the different type of appointments that we have. Some ask for support at a time of crisis. So as you see, we are there to serve students who want to continue to work on certain things and also to students who are in crisis. The main presenting concerns that we see at the counseling center in the order that I have here is anxiety is the most prevalent concern. The majority of cases that we see are related to some type of anxiety. It could be generalized anxiety, social anxiety, and overall levels of distress. Then after that, the second in terms of higher to lower is in terms of frequency of concerns is depression. It used to be the other way around. Depression used to be the number one, but this has changed in the last years, and this potentially is connected to all the reasons I was explaining before about how we are putting a lot of pressure on students to succeed and to perform. Family concerns is another frequent issue that students talk about, and that could be for multiple different reasons. And finally, one that I want to point out is interpersonal concerns. Academic performance is one issue, but as you see, is not at the top of the issues that our students are talking about. So, as I was saying, we have different types of services. We provide services to all students, but we are not, and this is very important, we are not a comprehensive mental health facility. We last year saw 17% of our students utilize the counseling center. And it used to be at some point 15%. And when I compare with other counselings in the nation, we see that our students are utilizing counseling center more than in other universities. Generally speaking, is about between 12 to 15%. So we are highly utilized, which is really wonderful. We provided over 7,000 appointments last year, a really high number. Some students need very specialized or long-term services. And from a social justice perspective, we cannot provide everyone who seeks services and who need once a week. We are not able to see all those students. So our scope of service is to help students who can benefit from being seen every other week and for about a semester worth of therapy. Students who need more than that, we are going to help them. We are going to do an assessment, but we would refer either to therapists in the community who have a specialized skill or who can see them more frequently and more long-term. That way they don't need to switch therapists year after year. So, and we have the mental health services coordinator who meets with students and helps them navigate who would be the best therapist for them, what insurance they take, and even can help them make an appointment. In addition, students can talk with a mental health professional after hours by calling our number 221-3620 and connect with a counselor on call. So how do we work? Initially, what we recommend is that students, especially early on in the semester, make what we call a triage appointment. During that triage, we are going to assess what their needs are and make the best recommendations for them. Typically, earlier in the semester, students can schedule this appointment, and it may take sometimes a week. Sometimes later in the semester is 14 days to get one of these appointments, and sometimes it takes up to 3 weeks because of, again, the high utilization that we have. For urgent matters, however, students can be seen the same day. I want to repeat that. For urgent matters, students will be seen the same day. It's kind of an urgent care. So we cannot promise that as soon as they arrive that we will see them immediately, but they will be seen. At times they may need to wait 15 minutes to half an hour, but they will be seen. The services that we offer once we do the triage, the different options that we consider is individual therapy. For some students, would be what they need. But for some other students, group therapy is the treatment of choice. Many times with issues of interpersonal concerns, social anxiety, group therapy is the treatment of choice. We also are lucky to have a psychiatrist, Dr. Roy, who we can refer for those students who may need medication management. We also work closely with the health center who are able to, the providers there are able to manage certain type of medications regarding mental health. We have a sports psychologist consultant, and she works a lot with students who have any type of performance-related concern. So test anxiety, stage fright, issues like that. In addition, as I mentioned before, urgent or crisis appointments on a walk-in basis. We also have workshops that address different types of concerns, such as anxiety, learning how to manage the blues or depression, how to achieve a sense of belonging, and promote better interpersonal relationships. In addition, we have consultation those are appointments for a student who may be concerned about someone else. So someone who sees their roommate not going to class or being really depressed, or how do I refer my friend here? And so we meet with them and provide them the best tools to help that other person that they are concerned about. Outreach means programs that we do across the campus. So we are often called to talk to a certain group about specific concerns that they want to hear about. And that's a lot of the prevention efforts that we do. And again, referrals. Our mental health services coordinator is able to connect students with referrals in the community. As I want to invite you to be our partners in helping students develop the best mental health that they could have. And so I'm going to give you some tips on how to help your student. And in order to do that, what is most important is to identify the different levels of concerns that a student may have, and what would be the best way to respond given the severity of, or the not severe but still concerning issue that your student may be dealing with. So I'm going to call green at those concerns that are developmentally in nature. So those are the concerns that most college students may have at one point or another. So they are experienced by healthy college students. Those could be adjustment to new situations. So obviously we experience that when during their first year, while they are adjusting to being away from home. Relationship issues, and that could be romantic relationship with a friend, relationship with roommate, relationships at home. Stress, time management, academic struggles, self-confidence. All of those we are going to call green level of concern. Okay. What are the options for green level concerns? The counseling center would often recommend workshops and therapy groups for these type of concerns. Again, it's very helpful many times for students to understand that they are not alone, that they are not the only ones who are experience stress or anxiety. And it's very helpful to realize I'm not in this alone, we are in this together. So that's why workshops and groups are particularly helpful. The difference between a workshop and a therapy group is the workshop is much more skill-based. We are going to teach them techniques and skills to work on their issues. A therapy group is going to be more processing, focusing on emotion, giving interpersonal feedback, and things like that. As parents, what I would really recommend is for you to really acknowledge your concern in behavioral terms and non-judgmental. So it's helpful not to give labels like you are depressed, but I noticed that you seem low, you seem to have less energy, the opposite, you seem to have a lot of energy. You seem that lately you are not talking as much about your friends. So again, observations, facts, and recognize the salience of the issue, because sometimes we have passed in our lives for different and maybe difficult situations, and we may not intentionally minimize how concerning that an issue could be for a student. However, it's important to say, yes, this is salient, but at the same time, putting it in perspective, because our students at times take one issue go from 0 to 100, or feel that because I fail an exam, then I'm going not to be able to graduate from college, and then I'm going to be homeless. So again, let's try to put it in perspective. It's important to avoid responding in general or simplistic ways, because that usually doesn't help. Saying everything will be okay, and hopefully that's the case, but we cannot predict that, and students feel like their concern is not being taken seriously. Explore what has been helpful in the past for them. Invite them. When you face something similar, what was that you did? How was that helpful? Who did you talk to? How did you manage? Because they may realize that they have experienced similar issues and they were able to get to the other side. And also suggest resources. There are different departments within student affairs, as well as the ones that I mentioned in the health, within health and wellness, such as Health Promotion, Center for Mindfulness and Authentic Excellence, the Campus Recreation, but also the Dean of Students Office and faculty could be resources for your student here. Students who are functioning but are showing signs of more serious distress, we are going to call those levels of distress yellow. And those would be those that are not as maybe the student is experiencing some difficulty in managing certain situations. So their level of functioning is being affected. And those are such examples as depression, anxiety, drug or alcohol abuse, difficulty managing emotions, and disorder eating. For those type of concerns, usually the counseling center, depending on the severity and the duration of these issues, it's very different if someone has been feeling depressed for 3 days than if someone is feeling depressed for 2 weeks. So again, depending on how severe, do they feel a little down, or do they feel that they cannot get out of bed? So depending on those issues, the severity and duration, the counseling center will recommend at times workshops, at times groups, at times individual therapy. And depending again of how concerning the issue is, we may recommend medication, at least exploring that, especially if a student has been depressed for a long time and are not functioning. And as I said before, referrals to the community may be an option when we believe that the services they need are beyond the scope of what we can offer. For parents, I want to recommend that if you hear that your student is dealing with any type of these issues, please think about when would be a good time to refer. When you do, be firm by caring. So we are not negotiating. I really want you to seek help for this issue. And doesn't matter where they start. If they want to talk to one of the deans, that's great. Because if the dean then sees that the student needs to be referred to the counseling center, they will do that. If they rather talk to a physician and the physician thinks, no, at this point you actually could benefit from therapy, they are going to walk them over. So wherever your student feels that they are more comfortable starting, that is awesome, as long as they seek some help. Explain why you are concerned and why you want them to seek support. And be aware that sometimes they may be resistant about the suggestion you are making. It's important to continue to express the concern, see how they continue to progress, and at times you can say you can go with a friend. You can go to the counseling center with a friend, and the friend can wait outside while you are in the session. They can talk to an RA also, and the RA would make suggestions. So again, start wherever they feel more comfortable, but be firm about the fact that they need to seek help. And follow up. Ask if they attended the appointment that they made. You can check in occasionally with them, how they are doing. And also, in terms of consultation, you can call us and consult with us. My student is experiencing this, and this. What do you suggest? And we can give you ideas as well as language about how to approach your student. For those students who they have an urgent mental health issue, those are the issues that require immediate attention and an immediate response. Some of the issues that would be under red would be significant self-injury, a serious eating disorder. So it's not just I skip a meal, but that they have been losing weight. They are engaging in unhealthy behaviors, like really depriving their bodies from what they need, or actually binging, purging, things like that. Those are very severe concerns that we want to attend to immediately. Violence or any aggression that you either that they're experiencing or expressing, especially if there is any presence of any weapon, we absolutely need to see those students right away. Any type of reckless behavior, excessive happiness, or too much energy at times could be also diagnostic. So we want to assess those students who are exhibiting those behaviors. Hallucinations, delusions, if you talk to them and they are having difficulty following a conversation, that could be also an indication of a serious concern. So and finally, any threat of suicide, or they said that they did something in hopes that they would no longer be here. If they express even a sense that I don't know if my life is worth living, anything like that, we want to see right away. And the next, if you, again, we will see them in a crisis depending on what the issue is. After our assessment, we may recommend further assessment at the hospital, at the ER. We may recommend hospitalization. And if that's the case, one of the important things I want you to know is that if this were to happen, the dean of students would contact you. So there would not be any time that we are referring a student for hospitalization that you would not know that. So be aware of that. As parents, if you hear any of these type of behaviors or concerns, please immediately call the dean of students or campus police. They are going to find the student and have them be assessed by us. Express your concern. If you get to talk to the student, express your concern, be firm and caring. And please focus on their safety and well-being as the most important issue at the time. In an emergency like this, whether the classes and how they are doing on exams and finishing their semester is not what we need to focus on. We need to focus on their well-being. And the dean of students will help them explore the options that they have in terms of the academic pieces. And always please follow the professional recommendations that we are able to provide. Okay, I want to address, as I said, in cases of severe concerns, those red concerns, when we recommend hospitalization and issues like that, you will hear from the dean. However, in terms of other type of concerns, if you were to call us and say, I know my student is seeing this therapist, we are not able to tell you any information unless they sign a release. Our federal and state laws, as well as the ethical guidelines for clinicians, forbid us to share any type of information, not only with parents, but faculty, deans, unless we have a written permission. The only exceptions to the rule of confidentiality are those cases in which we determine that the student may harm themselves or others if they don't receive additional help, or students who disclose any abuse of a minor, elderly person, or person with disabilities who cannot protect themselves. Basically, we need to protect the life, and we need to protect those who cannot protect themselves. In those cases, it's a requirement to breach confidentiality and protect those, protect a life. The only other exception is a subpoena for records is issued in the legal courts. Just to share who are the staff at the counseling center, we consider ourselves generalists. We don't have a specialist in OCD, specialist in disorders, a specialist in depression. What we are specialized in is in collegiate mental health. All the therapists at the center have had multiple years of experience in college counseling centers. We have clinicians and psychologists, the mental health services coordinator that I talked before, the psychiatrist that I mentioned. We have doctoral interns and advanced doctoral trainees. We are a training site. The sports psychologist consultant who does a lot of the work with the sport teams, but also with issues of performance. And we have the support staff at the front desk. Here is a list of the multiple clinicians and professionals that we have at the center. You can find that on our website. So I just wanted you to know the number of people that we have. Here are also resources. As I said, many times it's important that students feel or share concerns where they feel most comfortable, and depending on the issue, you know, at times it's one place or another. But here is a list of resources overall, and you can find each of these numbers if you were to look for the specific office. And now, time for questions.
At this time, if you would like to submit questions, you can submit those using the Q&A feature, and we will answer them as they come in. You can also use the chat feature if that's easier for you.
Information, but willing to take any questions.
I have a question here from Greg. Greg asks, how quickly can one get in for an appointment?
That is a very good question. That depends on the time of the semester. So generally speaking, at the beginning of the semester, we are going to have more triages, and they would be able to, at times, within a week. Later on in the semester, it may be 2 weeks. And again, at later times, it may be even 3 to 4 weeks. The worst case has been 4 weeks for us. However, again, I want to emphasize that if any student is dealing with an urgent issue, they will be seen the same day.
Thank you. We have one more question. Who decides that a student's status is urgent, and how is that status determined?
Excellent question. So when a student, the student themselves decide if it's urgent. So we have a paper that we give all our students when they come in, and indicates what a triage means and knowing that that could take time to get that appointment. And then we have examples of what an urgent matter means. So, and as examples, we have there a really continuum is what it's a continuum. For instance, having to make a decision by in a few days whether or not I drop a class or not, that could be urgent because I need to make that decision within the deadline. So things that cannot wait are considered urgent. But the student themselves, all they need to do is mark on this page which type of appointment they want and they feel they need, and no questions will be asked. So again, could be as simple as having a deadline to make a decision, and as serious as some of the red type of concerns that I was expressing before. That would, whatever in that arena would be, they will need to decide, I need to be seen today. And then no questions asked.
We have another question. Lisa asks, how can a student give permission for a parent to speak to the counselor? Would the form need to be completed in person by both the student and the parent, or just the student?
All we need is the signature from the student. They mark who we can provide information to. And yes, we don't need the parent. It's the actual student who is receiving services who decides who we can talk to. However, there is no problem in the opposite direction. Anyone can give us information about a student and let us know what's going on with them, especially if they know that they are being seen. That information, collateral information at times, is very helpful. That we cannot keep confidential. So if any one of you were to say, that you are concerned because this and this, we will need to tell the student, hey, we receive information from your parent that, or your parent is concerned about, additionally, this issue. It's important, it's very important in therapy that the student feels that they can trust us. If there is no trust, they are not going to be able to do the work they need to do. So for that reason, we cannot not disclose when we receive additional information about a student. But anyone can ask, can give us information.
I have another question here. How can we support or direct our students to take next steps if they are in the yellow type of category and the initial step didn't work, or they didn't really have confidence in the workshop or the group counseling that they were a part of?
And they didn't have what? Sorry?
So we're in a yellow category, and the initial step they took, maybe they went to a group counseling or a workshop, that didn't necessarily seem to help the student. What would the next step be?
So the next step would be, there are different options there. They can contact the therapist who was facilitating the group or the workshop and get back with them. They can email and say, I took your workshop, or I participated in the group and I'm still struggling with this, and this, and ask for recommendations. That would be the best way, because that therapist would really know the student more and would know what the best approach would be at that time. And then the second option would be to schedule again an initial assessment to restart again. But I would recommend the other step better than that.
We have a question here. Does the Counseling Center provide any special assistance to the roommates of neurodiverse students, or are there any departments that you coordinate with for neurodiverse students and their roommates?
Excellent question. Well, I participate in the neurodiversity group that includes students, faculty, and staff about needs of neurodiverse students. So this is a very good question. So we, generally speaking, we are not going to seek students to say, I know that you can benefit from this, but what we would recommend in that case is because we don't seek students, basically students need to seek us, unless we were to be asked to participate in some type of training, general training for students, and how to support a student who is dealing with in the neurodiversity type of spectrum. But the student themselves could come and talk to us, or invite the roommate who is having difficulty. They can come and talk to us and say, hey, my roommate is having difficulty understanding my needs. And then we can meet with both of them. So I would recommend that the student comes and ask for an appointment, a consultation. That would be more a consultation, because then we can bring two together and we can really facilitate and give them ideas of how to address that need. In addition, I want you to be aware that at any point, you have the possibility of writing a care concern, and that is through the Dean of Students office, and the Dean of Students will read constantly those care reports, and they, based on the need, they follow up either with the student and explore what the concerns are more specifically, or they make referrals based on need. So again, parents, RAs, faculty, anyone can complete a care report, and that could be extremely helpful as a way for us to approach a student.
We have a question about care reports, actually, so it's a fantastic transition. What is the Counseling Center's role with respect to care reports? At what point do you see or interact with care reports? And you mentioned the Dean of Students office, but are there any other departments that may handle care reports?
Yes. So again, the care reports come to the Dean of Students. Is a center in the Dean of Students office. They are the ones who receive and follow through. So, but then they collaborate with all the departments really on campus, because the care report may come in connection with a medical need of a student. And given that, they may refer and recommend that the student seek services at the health center. The care report may be about how stressed a student is, and they not necessarily say they are more in the green category. And so once the deans meet with the student, they may realize the student is really not necessarily in need of therapy, but they could really benefit from exploring different ways to de-stress. And they may suggest, for instance, a yoga class or a mindfulness workshop that are offered on the first floor of the wellness center. They may suggest a student is not sleeping well, and they may suggest that they talk with one of the people, the staff members in health promotion. So it's a great way to address a need, and then the deans would know how to guide that student in the best direction.
We had a follow-up question to the neurodiverse question.
Yes.
How would the Counseling Center handle when the neurotypical roommate seeks your assistance in managing their relationship with the neurodiverse student?
Again, we would not be, if they are together, and they would need to agree to that. But if it's only the roommate coming, the one who is having difficulty understanding the needs of the neurodiverse student, we are going to educate. We are going to provide them with specific information about what are the needs of neurodiverse students. And I usually try to say, you have your needs, the other person have their needs. How can we get to each of you understanding each other? And how can each of you support each other? So we are going to come from, again, creating awareness about the diversity in learning styles and needs, and move from there to help them be supportive of each other. I don't know if that answers more the question.
We have a few more minutes for questions, so please feel free to continue submitting those. These have been really fantastic questions. I have a question for you, Karina.
Yes.
I know we're entering a stressful time in a student's life, especially maybe if this is their first semester, their first final exam period, what general tips and advice can you give parents who are supporting their students through this final exam period?
Great question. I think it's very important to understand, again, this is kind of the green piece about the stress that is connected with the developmental task of the college student life. They need to take exam. It's the first time that they are going to take final exams in college. They don't know how, what type of questions the faculty is going to ask. So one thing that is important is to acknowledge and validate that it is stressful, that you understand that, it's important not to minimize and say, oh, you always do well. No, yeah, I understand that it's difficult and that you are stressed and it's a new situation. But it's important also to take into consideration that you go to William and Mary because of your skills, that you know that you are capable. Based on your previous experience, even during the semester, what are you learning about, what you know about this class? Offer suggestions. If they have doubts, does the professor have office hours that you can go and talk with the professor? The Dean of Students offers a lot of workshops in terms of academic skills. So invite your student to check the website and check what workshops are offered in terms of study skills and text related, how to manage, what's the best way to approach a test. Again, if the student is dealing more with test anxiety, we could refer to what I said, the sport psychology consultant, because even though we are talking about sport, what she focuses is on performance. The same way that she can help a swimmer have the best approach to the next meet that they are going to have, she helps a student approaching a test in the best way that they can. So she has a lot of tips that they can provide, and that would be, if again, especially for test anxiety type of concern, she's an excellent resource. So we are here to, again, support students, and the whole student affairs division, that's what we are here to do, to serve students. So again, I think at times students are feeling concerned about seeking those support, but that's what we are here. That's what we want to do. And I want you to encourage your students to really explore what resources are there for what they need. But also, again, acknowledge that it's a stressful time. And, it's important to also put things in perspective. Even if you don't do your best in this exam, that is not going to be the end of the world. But I know for students, it may feel like it is. So it's both and.
Well, thank you, Karina. I want to thank you again for spending time with us and our families today. That is the end of our presentation. If you have any lingering questions, feel free to send those into families@wm.edu, and we will answer those or send them over to the Counseling Center on your behalf. We are continuing our webinar series into the spring. If there is someone you are just dying to hear from, please let us know in the chat function as we are creating the schedule for the spring. Stay tuned for December's webinar. It will be with the Career Center here at William & Mary. If you would like to see a recording of this presentation, you can do so under the Resources and Tools tab of our website. That will be up probably tomorrow for you to reference as long as it is up on our website. Thanks again for joining us today, and have a great afternoon.